I make good money, but I still feel broke. I don't understand where it all goes. It feels like as soon as I receive it, poof, it's gone. Does this sound familiar? I work with so many mompreneurs who make good money, six figures, and yet they have no idea where it went. Why? Because they're not tracking their finances. They're not paying attention to it. They're not giving every dollar a job before it even comes in. All businesses need two things: a business plan and a financial plan. If you're not sure where your money is going, then I'm inviting you to join my school community, The Smell of Money, where we dive into exactly where your money is going and we start to look at how you think and react to the money that you're receiving and paying out so that money flows in all ways, always. Join today. The link is in the comments. If you're tired of feeling shame about past financial decisions, worried you'll never achieve financial stability, and ready for a clear plan to take control of your money and experience true financial freedom, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Lisa, wealth activator, independent insurance broker, and your guide to rewriting your money story. I learned the secret to creating financial freedom and stability after divorce, and I'm ready to share it with you. If you're ready for steady, stress-free income, clarity with your money, and the confidence to spend without guilt, grab your favorite essential oil, take a deep breath, and let's sniff our way through the smell of money. At the age of 22, I was a single mom, working full-time and part-time just to make ends meet. There never seemed to be enough. Raising a child by myself, a growing boy who needed clothes. I remember walking into J.C. Penney and thinking, wow, the price tag, the expense, how can I afford this? And I was very discouraged. My friend had told me about store credit, and I thought, buy now, pay later, better than layaway. So I nervously opened up the credit card and was approved, which very excited. They gave me a $500 limit. Back in the late 80s, that was a lot of money for a single mom. I remember going there and on a little shopping spree, I bought 5 outfits. And back then you could buy matching outfits. And I was so thrilled that my son would be dressed to the nines. And then I thought, let me just treat myself too. So I bought myself an outfit. I remember walking home. I lived with my parents at the time, and they were livid. How dare you bring home all of these shopping bags? And I'm like, what? And I had a date that night, and I was so nervous wanting to make a good impression. And I had assumed that this person that I was dating was very wealthy. And of course, I wanted to look the part, even though I wasn't. But maybe I could snag a rich man. The things that go through our head, especially after being in a narcissist gaslighter relationship and feeling so unworthy, so bad about myself, and thinking about all the times I messed up, finding myself pregnant 3 times before the age of 17, 2 of those pregnancies ending in abortion, and then choosing to have my child as a single person at 18 years old. Wow. That was a lot to take on, but I was just so tired of being controlled. And that's what happens when we break up, when we go through divorce, when we have a relationship that is not healthy for us. We need to get out. And the sooner you can realize that, the better. But a lot of times I like to think, is this where my money journey started? No, it started way back when I was born. I was born into a family that was very wealthy. My parents were both entrepreneurs. My grandparents were entrepreneurs. And my mom's side of the family was very wealthy. My dad grew up poor. His dad died when he was 15 years old, leaving his wife, my grandmother, with 9 children. My dad was the youngest. And he was had to fend for himself, each man its own in that kind of a large family. And he was very attracted to my mom, but they got married young. But well, back in the 50s, that's what you did, right? You got married by the time you were 19 or you were considered an old lady. And they built this business together. They built this beautiful home with help from my mom's mom, my grandma. And when they got divorced, my mother was devastated. And there was a lot of money stories that got passed on to me from their relationship, from my grandparents' relationship. But what stuck with me the most was the idea that money goes where money is. And I thought, I want to be where money is. How do I let that happen? Money to me was comfort. It was security. It meant that I didn't have to worry about whether the rent was going to get paid. So here I am, single mom, wondering how am I ever going to be able to move out of my parents' house and make it on my own? I refuse to let the narcissist gaslighter ex-partner support me in any way whatsoever. I did not want my son to be exposed to that while he was growing up. So I worked and I got a part-time job, and then I got a side gig as an Avon rep, going door to door selling makeup, right? And all the other products. And I still felt like there wasn't enough. I was working as a bankruptcy paralegal at the time, helping people I was creating budgets for people after they filed for bankruptcy so that they wouldn't be in that position again. And I remember sitting with one couple and they looked at the budget and they were like, I have to live on this. I go, well, just until, you get on your feet again and everything gets, you increase your income. But if you don't stick to the budget, you could end up bankrupt again. And we don't want to do that now, do we? Knowing what you want gets you what you want. When you think about the plans that we make, are they in alignment with what you actually want, or is someone dictating to you how things should go? I was working and I had an excellent credit. My relative at the time decided to use that and take advantage of me, but I let him. I gave my power away. Was it the first time I gave my power away? No. And it wasn't the last time. Family is supposed to help family. So I co-signed for a loan, and the deal was it would be paid off in 30 days. I would get $500, and in 30 days it would be paid off before any interest got due. 30 days came and went. Then shortly after that, I was coming home from work, parked my car, got my little boy out of the back seat, and there's two cop cars in a tow truck. I'm like, what the heck? Do they have the wrong house? They were there to repossess my vehicle. They had papers. I'm like, what? I haven't defaulted on any loans. What are you talking about? Prove it. I'm on the phone, like, I didn't know who to call. And they showed me a piece of paper that was a loan agreement that was defaulted on, and my name, not my signature. And I'm like, this is not my signature. I'm calling the police were there. I want to call the police. So they were going to, arrest the person who did this, who stole they didn't steal my identity. I was actually working for them part-time. It was a relative. And I was responsible for paying back this money. So the defaulted loan and then this loan that wasn't even mine, that one ended up getting paid by my mother because she wanted to protect the relative, who was my brother. Might as well just say it. And it really made me angry. Like, really? Like, he just screwed me and you're going to think it's okay and I have to pay it back? So I ended up filing for bankruptcy. And, I went pro bono, and I remember standing in front of the judge and he looked at me and said, you are way too young to be here. I said, yes, I know, but I'm trying really hard to make ends meet and I'm just not cutting it as a single mom. So I was relieved of all the debt. I refinanced my car. I reclaimed my car. So I did not want that to get taken because I needed that for transportation. And I got another job. So I was working full-time, part-time, and I decided that I wasn't good with money. So I was going to put it all away. So back then, my grandmother had taught me the money envelope system, and I couldn't trust myself with the money at home. So I went to the bank and opened up 3 different accounts. I opened up 2 checking accounts and a savings account. And back then that was looked down upon. Like, you had to qualify to open up a checking account. And I explained my situation, and the bank teller was super nice. I'd been at the bank for a long time. And she's like, okay, honey, I'll help you. So we earmarked one for fixed expenses, one for flexible expenses, and then the other one for savings. So I had all of my money deposited into my savings account. And then I would transfer money into my fixed checking for my bills that I knew are going to be the same amount every month. And then my flexible checking was for like groceries and gas and things of that nature. And that worked. And then I started working hard, getting different jobs, applying for jobs, because I really didn't like being a bankruptcy paralegal. So I got a job as a real estate paralegal. Didn't like that either. So while I was working as a co-op job, I worked for an insurance company, and I thought, well, maybe I can do insurance. So I started interviewing with all these different insurance companies. And I ended up, my mom was like, get a job with the government. They have security. So I ended up interviewing with all the local government jobs and got a job with the federal government, with Social Security Administration, and just took off from there. And meanwhile, I had, been the paralegal and did the things, and I thought, okay, well, I know a lot about insurance and finances, so Social Security will be perfect. And I learned as much as I could. Of course, it still wasn't enough. Fast forward, I got married, had more children, and money was going really well. I had restricted myself. I was living on a very tight budget. Everything was accounted for, every dime, but yet I still felt like I didn't have enough. And I would struggle with this and I would tell myself, well, you're not good with money. You can't spend your money. And I remember wanting to do things like remodel the house, but I had to save. And, we had an agreement, my husband and I had an agreement that we would both pool our money together to save for house remodels and things of that nature. But every single time I would save in that money bucket for a house remodel, I would spend it. Like, and not frivolously. And this cycle kept going on and on. So what did I do? I just made more money. At one point, I was working full time, 3 jobs, plus selling the Avon, right? I mean, it was crazy. I became a treasurer for 3 not-for-profits. And that extra money was really adding up to help me save for those remodel jobs. And then one day I smoked cigarettes. I was standing outside smoking a cigarette and I got the mail and there was a Discover card, 0% offer for my 17-year-old at the time. And I thought, why is somebody giving my 17-year-old a 0% credit card? He doesn't even have a job. He was working part-time. And I opened it and I thought, gee, a $10,000 limit. I said, well, I wonder if they would give this to me. So I called the number and sure enough, they allowed me to apply for it. And I thought, wow, cool. I have a $10,000 0%. What can I do with that? I can get my kitchen remodeled. So I started finagling my finances and shifting the things I was paying for in cash, like groceries, started putting them on a credit card and then taking the cash and putting it in a different savings account earmarked for a kitchen remodel. Well, that worked amazingly. And I created this cycle. I kept doing this for a decade. And before you know it, not only did I get my kitchen remodeled, I went on some vacations, I bought a new car, bought the kids a car, furthered my education. I had all these credit card debts because I kept getting more offers and I kept paying them off and reconsolidating and then, refinancing this and that. And before you know it, all these 0% credit cards expired and I panicked. And I remember sitting at my keyboard on my lunch hour at work and thinking, I'm not paying all that money in interest. What am I going to do? Now, mind you, I had no idea how much money I had because I didn't pay attention to it. Meanwhile, my husband every day sat down with money and recorded all of his assets and celebrated the money that he did have. And he would encourage me to do the same. And my attitude was, it's all for retirement. It's too far away. Who cares? Wrong attitude. It's so important to care, so important to pay attention to your money and celebrate every single day the money that you have coming in and be grateful for it. And this is how my money multiplier system was created because there was one thing missing that my husband and I each had, but we both didn't have this one thing. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. And this is exactly what I'm teaching in my Wealth Accelerator. When you think about your money, so many of us get caught up on there's not enough. When I make money, I pay the bills. That's exactly what I was doing, except for I had gotten to this rut of using these 0% credit cards. And then when they expired, I had no other choice but to pay interest because I did not have enough money to pay off this debt that I had no clue how much it was. So I started to panic and I thought, okay, at this point I had been working. One of my side gigs was a financial coach. I was working with Boy Scouts and I was working with single moms, teaching them, how to manage their money. And I thought to myself, I'm not even managing my own money properly, but I was because it was all on auto. I had all these accounts set up and all of my money, it was in little money buckets, money envelopes, right? And so I would beat myself up and criticize myself for not managing my money, and I was, but I didn't believe I was because I kept telling myself this story, and this story went on repeat. And what did it do? It lowered my self-esteem. It made me feel like I wasn't worthy to have any money, and I certainly couldn't enjoy any money. Getting my nails done and my hair cut? No way. The only thing that I did do for myself was a monthly massage, but that was because flex spending paid for it and it was okay because it was medically necessary. So I had to justify all of these expenses. So when I think about the debt that I racked up, I knew I came to a point I was, transitioning from, working these side gigs in person and going online thinking, oh, I could build out my business. I become an certified aromatherapy practitioner. I can build out this coaching business and I can make enough money to pay off this debt and be done with it. So the plan that I had written down was build out the coaching business, pay off the debt, be debt free once and for all, start thinking about retirement. That plan was not well executed. I didn't follow it. I had excuses. Every single time I would get the money, I would use it for something else. I would continue to rack up the debt. And every time I would transfer the money from credit card debt to a consolidated loan, guess who got more 0% credit offers? Yes, me. And so I kept finagling the finances, hid it from my husband. And when he finally found out, he accused me of financial infidelity. And we almost got divorced. We ended up separating for a year. And I really had to face this. I had to think to myself, what am I doing? Why am I creating this debt? And I come from a family who there's bankruptcy in the history. And I thought, I don't have a money problem. I have a relationship with money problem. And so when I turned to my coaching industry, all the people that I had networked with that we had gone through, certifications, I thought, I don't need help managing money. I've got that down. What do I need? And at this time, I really didn't believe in money mindset. And I'm a huge Dave Ramsey, Susie Orsman fan. And I almost became a Dave Ramsey coach. And I thought, well, maybe if I get certified as a Dave Ramsey coach, that will help me understand why I'm carrying this debt. And I could just, I've implemented the snowball method 100 times over, but I kept racking it back up. What was this cycle that was keeping me chained? I felt like there was a boulder, 3,000 tons, keeping me pressed in cement to the ground, and it smothered my chest and I couldn't breathe. And I had literally had headaches and backaches and hip pain, and I couldn't figure out what the heck was wrong with me because I knew better. I had been in finances and insurance since 1987, and I still didn't know how much money I owed. I just knew there was a lot of debt, and I knew I could not break the cycle. I'd pay off half of it and rack it back up faster than I would pay it. So I started studying the psychology of money, and I worked with a marketing coach who set me up in my coaching business. And she's like, I want you to start in the money mindset modules. I'm like, I don't believe in that woo stuff, money mindset. What are you talking about? Well, come to find out, that was the answer that I needed. And I started working with this coach and diving deep into my money story and rewriting it. Excuse me. And when I started rewriting that money story, I introduced aromatherapy combined with the tools that she was using to help me get through this process. And my money coach was Heidi Carter. I don't even know if she's doing that sort of thing anymore. I think she went back to work in corporate. But anyways, she used like hypnotherapy and art to help me identify money patterns from childhood. And I would sit there and I would add the essential oils and use the breathing that I learned as an aromatherapy practitioner. And I'm telling you, wow, the acceleration was powerful. I would get hits and downloads for days, and that gave me the courage to finally look at my money. I had mapped it out first by drawing it with watercolors. And then I had written it out and I looked at it and I made a money map. And I looked at my money map and I wrote down all my assets. I wrote down all my debt, and then I subtracted it and I looked at my net worth. And when I looked at my debt and I saw my assets, I was like, wow, even if I use my assets to pay off my debt, I'm still a multimillionaire. I still have over $1 million. And I was so excited about this. I was like so relieved. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm really not bad with money. And all this external criticism that I'd heard and the internal criticism when I looked in the mirror, and this has affected my weight, my sleep, and I was not happy with myself. And I thought, okay, I've added up my debt, $100,000. That's crazy. Who has $100,000 worth of debt? I went bankrupt at 22 with 32 grand, and now here I am. I made a promise to the judge that I would never be in this situation again. But wait, I kept my promise. I didn't go bankrupt. I'm paying off this debt once and for all, and then I'm going to learn how to leverage debt, because you can use other people's money as power, as leverage to make your own money grow. And I knew that because as a treasurer, I was making other people's money grow. And I thought, okay. So I did an experiment. I opened up a beta program. And I worked with 3 beautiful ladies and introduced them to the money multiplier system, because I used this exact system to pay off $100,000 worth of debt in 6 months. And not only that, but I ended up retiring from my career job with the Social Security Administration 2.5 years early. And I moved to my dream home at the beach, which was completely unheard of. How did this happen? By implementing the money multiplier system, incorporating that with aromatherapy, and being diligent about what I wanted. I incorporated this into the business. The cash flow system, combined with the money multiplier system, allows us entrepreneurs to make profit in our business while we're paying down debt and saving money. So implementing a combination of the avalanche and the snowball method, I was able to crush on debt. I was able to create a system that helped me become debt-free in 6 months and remain debt-free. And that's exactly what I'm teaching in the Wealth Accelerator. And when you join us in the Smell of Money community, the link is in the show notes, you'll be able to get the money multiplier system. You'll start with the money awareness challenge. You'll move into the money multiplier system. And then if you want, we can hop on a call. And I highly recommend hopping on a call because we all have blind spots and we can't see our blind spots. So how did I implement this system? The money multiplier system. You take 30% of your income. It goes for fun, savings, and giving. No questions, no ifs, ands, ors about it. When women come to work with me in the Wealth Accelerator, this is a very challenging concept for them because one, they've never managed their money before, and two, they've never felt worthy enough to receive money. So how the heck could they implement that system first? This is exactly what we work through. Then if you have debt, 20% goes towards your debt. And then if you don't have debt, 20% goes towards investments. And I teach you some very basic investment strategies. Then the remainder of that money goes towards your needs, your four walls, your housing, your transportation, your food, your clothing, and then your wants. And if you're a business owner, and you should be because you're listening to this podcast, you're going to set up your business account and you're going to implement the cash flow system so that you first, if your gross receipts are $250,000 or less, you're going to pay yourself a minimum of 50% salary that's going to get transferred. You're going to keep your business account separate. You're going to transfer it over to your personal money account. And there's a whole nother system that I teach in the Wealth Accelerator that helps you allocate the proper percentages. So you're running your business like a CFO, like the CEO that you are. So transferring your salary from your business account into your money account. And if you're like me, you have multiple income streams because I'm also an independent insurance broker, you need a money map to track it. And we don't like complicated spreadsheets or restrictive budgets. We create a money map so that money comes in and goes out our way. It's money your way. That's how we spend our money. We're not going to deprive ourselves of lattes. We're not going to eat ramen noodles every single day. We're going to enjoy life and we're going to have fun while we're saving, while we're paying down debt, while we are taking care of our needs and our wants. So with the combination of the debt and the avalanche method, I started paying down the minimum monthly payments of my credit cards. And then I started paying an additional 20% on the smallest amount. And then I would roll it over. And anytime I got extra money, all of that extra money, but 1% would go towards the debt. So where did the extra money come from? It came from those extra jobs. Remember earlier, I told you I was working full-time, 3 side gigs, plus I was doing Avon. Well, Avon turned into Young Living, turned into an aromatherapy practitioner, coaching post-abortion women, turned into a client attraction coach, turned into the I Date Money. So there's definitely an evolution going on here. So I had a minimum at that time 4 income streams. So when I retired, I became an independent insurance broker specializing in health and life and annuities. And guess who makes commissions at multiple levels? Yes. So money comes in always, always. So every single day, money's coming in. But most importantly, I am saving my clients hundreds and thousands of dollars every single month. They are saving just by coming into the Wealth Accelerator. $900, $500. My clients are finding hidden money leaks, unused subscriptions, tech leaks, spending all this money on tech that they're not using, joining these monthly memberships. But how many times does $7 add up before it becomes $400, $500, $600? I had a client who had a monthly membership that she was never using and refused to let go of it. That mindset, the money stories that we're telling ourselves. So within 3 months, I had paid off 50 of that debt. So now it was down to $50,000. And I thought, okay, well, we'll just do this again in another 3 months. But something happened when I retired that I didn't realize it. I had access to my retirement account because I was separated. And I thought I could just pay it off and be free and clear and relieve myself of this burden once and for all. So I did. And then all that extra money, I started investing. I started sponsoring women through an organization called Compass Care, which supports women facing unplanned pregnancy. So every time a new client comes in, I get to sponsor a woman. And they offer free STD and ultrasound. They validate the pregnancy. They share the procedure, what's going to happen. Should they keep the baby? What will happen if they choose to abort the baby? They actually tell them the actual procedure and what happens, which I wish someone had told me that I would have had a different choice. And then if they decide to keep the baby, they give them support. We give them support and share the gospel with them. So this organization is very dear to my heart, as that mission is as well. And so now I get to serve this way. And that's how I paid off $100,000 in 6 months. It's a simple method, not easy, because we get in our own way. I've had to look in the mirror so many times and tell myself, Lisa, you are worthy. Your past doesn't define you. I had a powerful online coaching session on my podcast today with Kira's. She was brave enough. She hosted a workshop that I do, Calm Cash Flow, in her group. And it was so powerful and moving. She's like, I want to propose this. Can I come on your podcast and will you coach me through a money block I have? I'm like, yeah, I've never done it before. Let's do it. It's exclusive. I would love to do this again. So if you're thinking you are stuck in a money rut and you have a blocker that's keeping you from getting to your next level, from hitting your profit margin goal, then come on the show. Come into my world, come into the smell of money, and I will help you release that blocker, because when you join the Wealth Accelerator, not only do you unfold your money map, customizing how you're going to spend your money your way, you're releasing all the blocks. And there's 7 major ones that are keeping you from hitting those profit margin goals. So come join us in the smell of money. The link is in the show notes. And remember, it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's what you do with it. Hey mompreneurs, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, please follow the show and share it with a friend who's rebuilding her finances after divorce. No spreadsheets, no restrictive budgets, only confidence to build financial freedom. Also, please drop a quick 5-star review so more moms starting over can find this. It lights me up to know this podcast is helping you. Inhale confidence, exhale scarcity. I'll meet you back on Tuesday for another episode. It doesn't matter how much money you have, it's what you do with it.